everything says it's good live on YouTube. All right, cool. Let's do it. Just do a 3, 2, 1 and then click it over. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Art of War. We got a super exciting live stream for you today as we are going to be talking about some of the most underrated armies in the meta right now. And honestly, there's a few of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about the state of the game right now. Of course, we're seeing, campaign books start to come out. More are getting announced. We've got a lot going on in the Warhammer meta, a lot of volatility. Mm-hmm. And in the ups and the downs, the changes, some old things are new again, some bad things are good again, and
some good things are bad again. Maybe.
There's always a couple. Overall, we're seeing actually quite a lot of diversity in what factions are competitive right now. It's a bit of a roller coaster, but there's a decent chance your army's got some play right now.
Absolutely, and if it's not a build that you have been playing, you might have had some new ones come into play in the last couple months.
Indeed. So if you like this kind of content, if you like this discussion with the Art of War members, make sure you like the content. Leave a comment, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel. That subscribe is going to get you notified every time we go live. We like to put out a couple of different free videos every week to share the wonderful, world of Warhammer with everyone. Mm-hmm. If you subscribe, you're going to get notified every time we go live.
Absolutely. But if you want more content, including some on the factions we're going to discuss today, as well as all the factions of the game, you can check out The Worm at theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial where you can get access to all of our videos, or you could sign up on YouTube here in the member system. And with that, you'll get access to top quality battle reports, as well as many other theory videos, strategy videos, and anything you can possibly need, in addition to our awesome online community in our Discord, which gets you access to all our faction channels and the experts inside of them, and you'll make many new friends there.
That's right. Either the link in the description below with that free trial, or being a member of YouTube Gold. Either one of those is going to get you access to all of our videos.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's start out here. Now, this army that we're going to be talking about has been maligned because of lack of flavor, more so than lack of, it has had PowerPoints throughout the meta.
Absolutely.
But it has lacked flavor and diversity, and it has just continued to get quite a bit cheaper. And that is going to be the Adeptus Custodes. For a while now, they had been hanging around, I would say, like bottom third over the last year, since Solar Spearhead got nerfed. And Games Workshop, in their infinite wisdom, said, all right, we'll make them cheaper. We'll make them cheaper. We'll make them cheaper. And at this point, with the last round of points decreases, they're
cheap.
They've got a lot of units on the table, John. I played Curse Legion into Adeptus Custodes recently, and he just had more units than me. And they're 2 of save, 4 up invuln.
And they
there's
hit
rerolls.
Very hard.
They hit crazy.
Very
hard.
reliably. Weapon skill 2 sustained is about as reliable as you're going to get.
Yeah,
rerolls out the wazoo. High strength AP damage. This just kind of cracks.
That is not the... So you could go the infantry heavy build with Lions of the Emperor, or more recently, Folger, as well as some other people around the world, have been testing out Custodian Guard spam plus triple Land Raider.
Yeah.
And kind of trim the units down, don't run as many characters, but just kind of run the meat of the army. And it's a lot of meat, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a lot
absolutely.
of big golden meat.
We've kind of gotten to a point in the edition where we're relatively deep into 10th edition. We don't know where the finish line is, but we know that the starting line was a while behind.
We're like at the neck.
Surely, right? And it feels like there's this point in a lot of editions where good units get bad data sheets, and then they get too cheap. And Custodes are supposed to be a good unit. Land Raiders are supposed to be a good unit.
Yes.
But the last Cannon Land Raider of this edition has not been a good unit. It's designed to be a good unit. It maybe didn't land that way, and it was a bad unit. And now we have walked the points down to it being a good unit the bad way, which is we gave this not good rules, so the stat line wasn't enough. But now you're underpaying for what these stats are because the rules weren't interesting. And suddenly it's, in that case, I just won't use rules. I'll use stats.
I'll just use stats. What
and
is
I'll beat my opponent to death.
It's 220 points, right?
It's 220.
For a 16 wound, 2 up save, T12 body with 4 twin link las cannon shots.
So I believe they're not actually twin linked.
Oh, they're not twin linked.
But the crucial difference is that this is the same cost as the Space Marine ones. And now you get different rules in the Space Marine ones, such as not Oath of Moment. But it has to be said, these are ballistic skill 2.
That's true.
And
so not as oath reliant.
Not really oath reliant. You just and when you have 3 of them and you just say, yeah, I'm not getting the synergies, but that's fine. I'll use 0 synergies and I'll cast more brick.
The other big thing, John, is that they have a transport capacity, and one of the best things that Custodes has, one of the best things any army has access to, we got this question in the last live show, is like, what's one of the best rules you could have? It's flat 6 reactive move, especially when you can get inside of transports off of that, which opens up additional distance.
I'll also say that Talons of the Emperor, one of the detachments that we believe is optimal, in my opinion, probably the best one for the current meta, in addition to having a good hard counter to a couple of top builds, also has one of the only remaining examples of a reactive move that works on a vehicle. The Land Raider can reactive move.
Yes.
Like, it's 5 OC. It can move. And if your thing, it's like, oh, it just moves 10. It doesn't advance and shoot, advance and charge. You're right, it doesn't. But it can fall back and act, and it can flat 6 reactive move on the Land Raider itself, or the guys nearby, or the gals nearby can hop inside the Land Raider. And that's really annoying. And so it ends up just being oppressive because you have 30 Custodian Guard. And what we used to see as like optimal Custodes list was like 18 Custodes bodies and 2 tanks. And now it's 30 Custodes bodies and 3 tanks. And the tanks aren't as good.
Yeah, they're not Caladius.
But they're tougher.
Yeah.
+1 toughness, +2 wounds. And they're not twin linked, but they're tougher, and it's just more beef. And the Guard aren't as good as the Wardens, but they actually do hit harder. And instead of saying sometimes my infantry are twice as tough, I have almost twice as many, and their durability is fixed.
Yeah.
The tricks are reactive move, and you have a Psyker, get wrecked. That's it. The other trick is that there are now twice as many bricks to throw through your opponent's window.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you don't need good rules if you just have enough of them.
In addition, it means that the style that you had just mentioned, the Warden style, was very stat check oriented. You put the Wardens out, there will be a turn where you feel no pain, your opponent either does enough or doesn't do enough, and then you break through, or you don't. And that was a very kind of boring play style, I think, for a lot of people. But, not Folger, of course, but for other people. And then now, you can actually just play a trade game if you want to. If your opponent forces you and you're playing against Drukhari or something, and they're going to trade something on the objective, you trade back, you can actually just play that and come out with more units. It's kind of insane.
Like, Wardens are definitely better in one turn than Custodian Guard are.
Yeah.
But in turn 2, the Guard are just better. They have 4 wound models mixed into the unit. They are way cheaper, and they hit significantly harder because you get double tap on the shooting and reroll wounds, shooting and combat. And so it's kind of gotten to a point where Custodes have had their best plays taken away, and then as an apology over 4 updates 3 months apart, they just just one more brick got slipped into that golden pillowcase.
Yeah.
And now we can go to look at events like the Las Vegas Team Tournament that Art of War attended. About a week and a half ago.
Yep.
And we can see that Folger scored 100 diff points in 5 games.
20,
to be
20,
clear,
20,
you cannot score more.
No.
He just,
Perfect score.
He played 5 games. All 5 of his opponents lost the game by at least 51 points. I mean,
disgusting.
That's
hard to do. Even with your EC, like
never.
It's hard to do to get 20 O's.
I've never gotten 5 20s before.
Like with my AdMech at the peak, I didn't get 20 O's in every game.
No, it's just but it's like these bad units were supposed to be good, so they made them cheaper, and now there's too many of these good units that don't have good rules. But there's too many, and they still have the stat line.
Yeah,
and just if you apply it properly, and Folger's very good at this, it is a real problem. So we feel like Custodes.
And it's not just US Open, too. The Nottingham Super Major, also in the UK, also had a Custodes player. Where they were like 8-0 or 7-1. They were up at the very top 4, 100%.
I know that Folger's not the only person running this style. I've seen it pop up in some European theaters as well.
It can perform on other metas and other terrain layouts.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to overcome for a lot of people. Now, I think that when it finds a counter, that counter is going to hardline kill it. Like if that list, I think, went into the wrong number of Catan, that would be bad. I don't know.
And we might get that on the Worm stream. We'll see. We're going to see if Jack is brave enough to do it.
But I do think that it means that Custodes, if you're willing to build into not the fun dynamic thing that Custodes have in the past and say, stat check, oh yeah, I'll stat check even harder.
Yeah.
Custodes can actually be a lot better than their perception has been because it felt like they never got a significant buff and they used to be bad.
Yeah.
So, surely they're still bad. But, that's not actually how it's panned out.
And we did the big faction tier list after the December update. I think it was like the second week of December. Sure. And you and I believe we ranked them C tier. And if we revisit that now...
Was I in that one?
Yeah, it was you and me. We ranked them low.
I do believe that I would do that. I didn't even think I was on that video.
I believe it was you and me. But anyway, we ranked them quite low. And I think if we re-rank them now, we're seeing that the points actually have made big a difference. Because we were kind of in the opinion, like, it's kind of just the same Custodes. But it has hit the point where you do have enough stuff.
Yeah, every time I see 5 points on an army that wasn't good enough, I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. Yeah. But, eventually you...
Over 3 updates in a row.
Over 3 updates, you're like, oh, that's actually... It's like tasty. An entire extra unit of guard at a certain point. It's like, oh, wow, okay. So Custodes, we think, have that potential and have those builds. If you lean into the data sheets, the Custodian Guard, the Land Raider, just the cheapest units possible, take more Custodes. We think it has real potential to be a top army right now.
Absolutely. All right.
So before we move on to that next one, I do just want to say, if you're giving us any super chats in the chat right now, we do see them. We do appreciate you. But on these live streams, we usually answer all super chats towards the end of the video. So feel free to put them in. We love the support. It helps us do what we do. We'll give you thorough answers towards the end of the live stream. Absolutely. So you have not been forgotten.
Now, next up, we are going to be discussing another faction that hasn't been forgotten. It has been forgotten, but it also really hasn't been talked about since it got its codex and almost immediately nerfed. And that's going to be Imperial Knights. And I believe it was Valor Strike specifically that got nerfed, but they also had some data sheet changes and losing their Feel No Pain. They were rampant in the index days during the summer when they had all of their buffs and the cheat points, but Games Workshop hit them twice in a row, including with the codex rules. Yep. And after that point, Knight players were like, what are we supposed to do? It was hard to figure out where to start with the army. And just now, over the last month or so, we've started to see Knights coalesce into a new version of the army that can succeed. Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see Knight be an army that is actually coming back out, which honestly is surprising because I think that we're in a big stuff meta right now. With big guns to counter. And so I would think that a Knight army that got nerfed a bit ago wouldn't be able to emerge in a meta where people are aggressively tailoring for them and they just got nerfed. However, there is some evidence to the contrary. Yes. We're starting to see that just taking a lot of the big Knights, it's not really the armigers that are making waves. Not in this. Yeah, Valor Strike was the most talked about detachment when the Codex was previewed, but I think that Questor's Companions is probably the one that's starting to make some waves now. I know there's been some recent event results. Funny enough, actually, I heard Nick talking about it. Yeah. I think, someone who was going to a team event and was just crushing people with Imperial Knights, the meta just couldn't handle it right now. Yeah. He's been inspired by it, and we're seeing multiple Lancer builds. So you run several Lancers, and then you pick which shooting knight you want behind that. But 2 to 3 Lancers, and some versions are 4 knights, some versions are even 5 big knights, and just a couple cheap Imperial Agent units around. That is still quite a stat check. And the 4-up Invul Knights, without having to worry about needing rotate on each, it is a lot of beef to try and chew through for armies. And they're up there, they're on the objectors, they're forcing interaction immediately. And then you fail a couple saves against them, they're big damage as well. So if Catan can go into one of them, but if you get hit first, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Yeah, right. You're not having damage anymore. If a Lancer charges and says a hit on 2s, wound on 2s, I have a hit reroll, a wound reroll, it's really not unlikely that a 5-attack Lancer hands you 5. Yeah. 5 wounds. And you took a tank shock. 3, that's 20. I mean, that's honestly, if you failed 2, it's 12 damage. It's 12 damage. You probably took a tank shock. If you fail, yeah. A tank shock that's 0 CP. Yep. Here's 5 saves. You failed 2 of them, you take 22 damage. The 5-up Feel No Pain isn't saving the model from that if you took 3 damage in the charge phase. You're probably dead. Just straight out. It probably just kills you. And because it has to be said, Knights are very good at killing other big stuff. And the meta might actually be shifting that way because Knights hate too many little units. And all these other armies, too many little units, are getting blasted by Repulsor Executioners and Rogaldorns. 3 units? The Repulsor Executioner splits fire, kills all 3. And as you pick up your models, I complain, man, I didn't even get to fire the twin-linked Icarus Stubber. Every time. Yeah, dude. I don't even know half the Rogaldoran guns because I never see them. You never get there. And so it may just be that the shift in the meta towards big stuff, even though it brings out things to kill big stuff,
maybe Knights are just prospering in a, yeah, screw it. We're two big guys hitting each other, and I'm the army actually built for that. And all the other big things are crowding out the little stuff, crowding out the Eldar Fire Dragons from the meta that used to be keeping this in check.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, John.
That's how the Imperial Knights have kind of resurfaced without a buff of any kind. Because I remember the last balance update, Knights didn't really get any buffs, despite they were being perceived as being in a bad spot. And there's a little bit of mumbling in the community, a little bit of murmuring of like, man, why aren't they buffing Knights? Like, what? Why do they hate Knights so much? They should have buffed Knights. Admittedly, I also shared those opinions.
Yeah.
However, with the benefit of hindsight, seems like that was actually a good idea to not buff Knights because maybe they're actually pretty close to good right now.
Yeah, there might be things that still need to be buffed in Knights, but it looks like they're coming around to a pretty strong list archetype that if you're not prepared for, or even if you are prepared for, 4-up invulns into big target is what a lot of the meta is going to be. Some turns you're going to swing down. You have to have a plan B. You have to be able to slow them down.
If you have
Lancers
enough
are
wounds
fast
behind it, the 4-up invuln math is going to take over. Like, the Nightbringer just shouldn't kill a Knight, a Lancer.
Yeah, a Lancer
in one
specifically.
Stat. He just shouldn't.
Yep.
And he could. But a Lancer probably does kill the Nightbringer on the charge, or at least has a very reasonable path to do so. Right? If you told me the Nightbringer one-tapped a Lancer, or a Lancer one-tapped a Nightbringer, one of those is more believable.
Yeah,
and it's the Lancer.
It's not the Breaker of Knights.
Yeah, like what? The Nightbringer is going to stand there and shoot him with his 18-inch gun?
Yeah.
The Lancer moves 14. Yeah, ding! Here you go.
That's
D6
straight through the
plus
wall.
2 damage. Yeah, wham! It's nothing's going to save him from that.
Yeah. So I think Knights are relatively underrated now, and a lot of those dedicated Knight experts have been putting in the work to try and figure out builds that work in this meta. And if you're relying on your big anti-tank guns, maybe you have like 2 Repulsor Executioners with the 4 big shots?
2 of them has a total of 4 giant laser cannon shots.
You're probably going to put 4 saves on them with all the rerolls and stuff.
But if they pass 3 out of 4, it's like, ugh.
But they failed 2 of them. They reroll 1 of them into a success, and you're like, wow, 1 went through. That is not enough damage this turn. That's scary.
Yeah, I have to like combine Oath and 3 tanks to hope to kill 1 Lancer, and I have to put a melee unit there as a backup plan.
Yep.
And like, if that just get shot after that, it's not good.
Yeah. One of the big weaknesses of that was those screening units, and if they're just not there anymore, you are getting rushed down by these fast Knights.
People are taking fewer screening units than before. That might
Some
be a
armies are
mistake.
benefiting. Yeah.
That might be a mistake.
All right, so that was number 2 here. Now, moving on to our next one, it is a Space Marine faction. It's not Ultramarines, don't worry. They're not underrated at all. But it is going to be our favorite secret Space Marines, the Dark Angels. And I know you thought they were already good last meta. There were other good Space Marine players running them, like Kit Smith Hanna at Worlds, because they got several big buffs, including to Landspeeder Vengeance, making it flat 3 damage, which is a really cheap, nasty shooting platform. In addition, they have multiple builds that benefit from things like Redemptor Dreadnoughts that have come back into the meta, and some of the other vehicle platforms, Repulsor Executioners, another good example. And they have multiple ways to play them. We saw the Company of Heroes, or not Company of Heroes, what is it?
Hunters?
Company of Hunters style earlier on, which has now become more Wrath of the Rock, which succeeded at Worlds as well. And then we had an Ironstorm version, as well as they can always play Gladius. So they've had multiple builds. They just have been overshown by Ultramarines. But is that like they have really strong competitive builds? Tell us about some of them, John.
Dark Angels kind of popped out in my mind as being a better option around the time of the Victrix Guard meta, because Lionel Johnson was specifically one of the few things that could handle 4 wound Victrix Guard.
Flat 4.
Flat 4 damage on a fights first with inherent rerolls is just really good at cutting specifically Victrix Guard in half. Now, there isn't as much of a need for that now because 3 wound Victrix Guard are no longer nearly as spammable, and it's a lot easier to knock them out. Like, Landspeeder Vengeances are disgusting in a Victrix Guard. It's like, oh wow, -1 to wound, fine. 3's twin linked. Okay. Flat 3 damage. Pew pew pew. It is plasma and it just like kills them. But there's all these tools still remain, and you get Lionel Johnson, who is a great way to make Space Marines a little bit counter meta, because he doesn't bring the raw power. You don't get the raw power of Ultramarines and Dark Angels. But what the Lion brings is a really good fights first unit. That is something that you don't get in Ultramarines.
Yep.
There's only a few things they're missing, but that's one of them. Mortal wound protection. You don't get that in Ultramarines. And so sometimes an Ultramarines army can get mobbed down by like a Blood Angels army that just went first, hit the walls, and said, hey, I'm right out of charge range and I'm faster than you. So you're going to back up?
Yeah.
Oh, you backed up? All right. Primary is going to be 45 to 20. fine. Or
secondaries ain't making that up.
8 charges. Go ahead and interrupt or fight on death wherever you want. I'm still going to connect on 6 or 7 of these. And having a fights first unit is just like, the lion's going to stand here and kill every sanguinary guard unit who points at him. If you hit me, if you fight on death, I have a 3-up invul. Like, I don't know if you're actually going to get where you think you're going with that one.
It's scary. In addition, they also have the Deathwing Knight profile, which is actually a counter meta, or counter at least melee type of tool, because -1 damage is just really good into the mass 2 damage melee armies that we typically see in the meta. You have to commit a really expensive unit to kill Deathwing Knights, or you're committing multiple units, and that is a bad trade usually.
Yeah, what's funny is that I don't even think you're trying to lean too much on Deathwing Knights right now, but you can. They're great into things like blood.
Yeah, maybe run only 1 or 2.
Yeah, just 1 or 2. You definitely don't need the 3 of the old days. But having the lion, having that really good melee efficiency, and you only get 1 oath, but you use it in the shooting phase, and you just have the lion carry your melee, damage around, because most things are weapon skill 2 anyways in Dark Angels. But that mortal wound protection really helps with a lot of the random ways that people deal with Space Marine tanks, because that lack of mortal wound protection means that Haywire Scourges are like, oh yeah, these are great into Repulsor Executioners and Redemptors. And if you just say, pop smoke, I'm near the lion. Honestly, like a unit of Haywire Scourges that shoots a Repex in Ultramarines versus Dark Angels, I understand that it's like literally half the damage. It feels even more than that because it's just so much harder to just be like, oops, I spiked up by 1 wound roll, you're dead. Like, no, it's just not happening.
It's not, even on a good roll, it's not happening.
Really good.
Yeah.
There's plenty of mortal wounds in the current meta, and having multiple counters to it as well as a fights first is really nice. As well, the Landspeeder Vengeance is a very good profile. I think it's well situated for the current meta. Having that high AP, the twin linked, it lets you get through a lot of things. It's got good range. It's very fast. And you have, enough beefy units to kind of go front and play linebacker. And then you have the fast speeders in the back that are just dipping around and cutting angles and just being fast and annoying and shooting. Not hard, but like a little harder than they should for their points, maybe. Yeah. And so you get to a point where Dark Angels gets to play into a lot of the Space Marine counters, even though Ultramarines are weirdly probably better into the field.
Yeah.
And so it creates a very interesting balance. And even if the lion isn't going to kill a Catan killing the lion is actually really unreliable.
High quality, low volume of attacks into a 3-up invuln is really not what you're looking for.
It's also -1 to be wounded.
That's also not a great
thing.
If
the Nightbringer puts a dev wound through it, kicks off the 4-up Feel No Pain. So you don't just get it through like that. If the line has a CPU roll, you could really tell me that the Nightbringer charged and just like got hit first, took good damage, not going to die, took good damage, didn't damage the lion. He's 6 attacks.
6 attacks on the sweep.
You miss 1-5 hits, you wound on 3s, 3 saves. I have a 3-up invuln and a CPU roll.
Yep.
You're
really swinging for
it really doesn't have to do anything.
And if I devs you could have the 4-up Feel No Pain.
If you roll a 6, I get the 4-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
So it still takes a good amount of effort to cut through.
Yeah.
There's some interesting counter tech in Dark Angels. I think that
Mass Flat 3 damage Twin Linked is also quite good into them.
Yeah, also that. It'll add up. It wounds on 5s. So you kind of need a Thunderstrike to like get it all going together. But Dark Angels have more play than I think people expect right now. I've seen some Dark Angels do well in the wild. Alex Spatho of Team USA and Team XBZ was at the Palm Springs Open with Dark Angels. He actually did pretty well with 0 Deathwing Knights, which I thought was interesting. Reinforces my idea that you don't need as many as you used to, although I'll admit I hadn't written a list that was down to 0 yet.
Which archetype did you run?
I think
Ironstorm or the
Gladius double Repex, but then you get an Inner Circle Companion unit of with the Judiciary.
Yeah, that's another great fight first unit.
It's another fight first unit. It's actually pretty good into Catan because it's a volume of strength 6.
Yeah, we actually played that matchup.
Yes.
Not in the recent days, but probably like a year and some months ago when Catan used to be good as well.
Yeah.
We had, I played 4 of them in Hypercrypt against John's Dark Angels, and we showed off the Inner Circle Companions being, not that they're going to one-shot a Catan, but they're going to put a lot of damage on it.
Yeah, as far as like a one-shot activation, it's probably the highest damage you can get into a Catan for Space Marines right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of attacks.
Or for Dark Angels, at least.
Yeah, Dark Angels.
Maybe like a Lamart, his 10-man Death Company's worth more, but it ends up being 24 attacks of sustained 2, damage 1, and with Lance you wound on 4s, and you're just like, here is a lot of saves.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and you just see if it's enough.
And then against other melee armies, now you have 2 different fight first areas. Yep. It's pretty hard to deal with.
Pretty annoying.
All right, next up, moving on to number 4. We're going to have an army that may surprise you, may not surprise you. It's going to be the Chaos Space Marines. And they are sitting right now on StatCheck. We recently checked. They were sitting there at a 43% win rate, the second worst win rate after Imperial Agents in the game right now at the GT Plus level. And that is quite surprising because they have had results and they have they have a lot of detachments, but they have several competitive ones. And their best detachment, or at least in your opinion, their best detachment is sitting at Renegade Raiders. It's sitting at 43% win rate as well, with 239 games played in this meta. That's pretty surprising, I'm going to be honest.
Lower than I would have guessed. So what stands out to me about CSM is that of the armies at the bottom, they're the only one that I looked at and say, I don't think they've been nerfed recently.
Like Bio went up like a little bit. It was
maybe like 10 or 15 points. But I don't recall Chaos Space Marines having a list archetype go up more than 30 points in the last year. And every once in a while they get like a -10, -20, and every once in a while they get like a +20, +30 across a list. But it really feels like they haven't taken a big nerf at any point.
They've gotten rewrites.
They were good.
They got the Hellstalker rewrite, the Lord of Discordant. They got the Vashtor rewrite.
Yeah,
they've got a new data sheet for Raptors.
Yeah, admittedly, neither of those really made an impact. But we haven't had enough time for the Raptors yet. That kill team.
People have been running the Hellstalker with the enhancement.
Yeah, on occasion I'll see like one, but I haven't seen it be like
not a
fundamental like changing what CSM does. But I do feel like CSM is significantly better than the win rate would indicate. Of course, we always see random things. Every October, Liam VSL takes Veterans of the Long War to win LGT. We'll see if he can keep that up 3 years in a row. Yeah, we've got
coming up in a handful of months.
We've got a while before Liam needs to take vets to LGT again. But I really do think that CSM has a lot of power. It has a lot of damage output in a big stuff meta. And killing big stuff is just something it does well. You can build some really big hammers in. You can build some really big damage in. You can just take a ton. Everything in your army can have lethal at a moment's notice if you want it to. And that is really strong.
And volume of attacks is just there.
Yeah, there is volume. There are rerolls. There is sustained or lethal to carve through big things. You have a lot of the same strengths as Space Marines, and you don't have all of them. But you do get some different things. And I feel like Renegade Raiders right now with like Noise Marines and just the stratagems that Renegade Raiders gets you, which is I hate things on objectives. If the Nightbringer touches an objective and you get out a new unit of Noise Marines and a unit of something else, unit of Noise Marines in the shooting phase says, I reroll hits and wounds against objectives. Great. That's going to hurt a lot more than it normally should. And then you shoot a bunch of stuff at it that's all the +1 AP, so that fancy new 3-up armor save doesn't matter, and you just put a bunch of lethal hits on it. And then you charge a combat unit in, and the Nightbringer's still on objective. And you know what you say? You say, wow, I reroll hits and wounds against objectives. I mean, I'm not saying, it depends on what you take. Or it's a big knight,
or it's some other thing.
A chosen squad with reroll hits and wounds against objectives is really going to hurt. You also have some of the, one of the most, hilariously crazy strats in the game with, what is it? It's like Reaving Raiders. It's it's too close to the detachment, honestly.
Yeah, end of the fight phase.
End of the fight phase, make a normal move or a fallback, which makes you incredibly difficult to engage, incredibly difficult to predict. It's one of those things where you can steal an extra movement phase where someone tags the Rhino and you're like, oh, it's basically like a fallback and shoot because you fall back a phase early so you don't count. But then you also get to move. You're like, oh, the Rhino just moved 24 inches and still gets to advance and charge.
Now it's on my home objective.
Now it's on my home objective. Yeah. And so I think that Renegade Raiders can be really good at these brawly, scrappy, anything can happen game because these random dynamic, I saw this line that you didn't see. And now whatever random thing just lived because I am a Space Marine profile, so occasionally I'm just alive, just moves and then charges, and you weren't expecting that. Mm-hmm. It's like, sorry. I think the new data sheet of the Raptors is actually quite a glow up. 3 Power Fists and essentially a Malefic weapon and a plasma gun and a plasma pistol is actually a really good kit for just a 5-man that's fast and has access to advanced shoot and charge. Mm-hmm. It's not like you need to. You can just move 12 and do these things. And if you go hit something on an objective, you hit pretty hard.
So much so that you actually painted these up, John.
I did in fact paint some of the new Raptors.
They look real good.
We'll preview them up in a couple of days. But I think that CSM are just being overlooked. Honestly, I think it's because CSM haven't had anything new in a while, and a lot of other things has gotten excited buffs, And so there isn't a ton of top players playing them at the moment. But I do really feel like CSM was one of the best armies in the game, or is at least a competitive army, and just never got nerfed, and yet people aren't playing them right now. And I really believe that they're better than their win rate would suggest.
You made a really good point, which is that for a while, one of the weaknesses of this detachment was your opponent wasn't necessarily putting their best units on objectives. They were kind of holding back. And now we just talked about Necrons a few times. We've talked about Imperial Knights, Custodes, Land Raiders. There's a lot of stuff that's standing on objectives that's supposed to be durable. This is one of the archetypes that should be good into that meta.
Yeah. If there's less trash, it's not worth it if you say, oh, I'm going to take my 10-man chosen squad and go kill the 5 Rangers on the objective, and I'm better at killing them because they're on an objective. It doesn't matter. It's 10 chosen against 5 Rangers. They could be fighting on Jupiter, and we know where this is going to go. However, if there's less of these trash pieces around, if that's where the meta is going, and it's big stuff that has to touch the points, if your big stuff doesn't touch the points, you're not building up the momentum that you normally would want to with like a Necron army. Right? If you're not putting the Catan on the objectives, what are you doing? And if Renegade Raiders can say, oh, well, since you had to touch objectives, now I am good enough. Now I am at the power level. I think that gives it real legs.
Yeah, absolutely. So CSM hanging down there, but I think they have plenty more potential than they're showing. Yeah. And lastly, we are going to discuss an army that I've been playing quite a bit recently, although not the most popular detachments. I've been playing some of the other ones.
Okay.
So it's going to be the Drukhari, the Nefarious Raiders.
The Darkkin.
And so Spectacle of Spite has gotten all the attention, pretty much. Not when the Codex initially released, but since then, it has become the dominant way in which I'm seeing most people play them at tournaments.
Yeah, sure.
And it has quite a solid win rate. But it is starting to fall off a little bit recently with the shift to the stat check style of very durable units that are minus damage, that are too tough for witches and hellions to really get through quick enough. Yeah. And as soon as that happens, you have to say, well, what else does Drukhari have? I've seen a lot of people saying, well, then that's Drukhari's best build isn't actually effective anymore into this meta, so Drukhari's now bad. And I think that is actually the wrong way to think about it. I've been having a lot of success with a Reaper's Wager build that I just showed off on stream on the YouTube game Wednesday against Michael's Death Guard. Okay. And I've been playing a lot of builds like that. I also think Cabalite Cartel, the ability to pick lethals against monsters and vehicles and just rain hellfire into them with your units that are going to be full rerolls to hit.
Does Cabalites get that for a pain token?
The Archon pain token. So you're going to have full reels to hit, and then you're going to pop the crit 5 strat. So you're going to have lethal crit 5s. Oh. And
I think I could do that.
You're going to put a lot of saves on people. It's downright nasty. In addition, you'll have Scourges with lethals that'll help against minuses to wound and whatnot. You can do a lot of things to big targets that are what the meta is right now. And that might actually be the best way to play. I'm going to be experimenting with that over the coming weeks. And I think there's quite a bit of play there. But I think Reaper's Wager is just a standard. I have 2 to 3 Scourge units. I've got 2 to 3 Talos units, plus all the combat that you normally have. A Fight First Lilith unit, as well as the Archon and Lady Malice. Of course. It's just a lot of damage. It's a lot of rerolls, a lot of reroll hits. There's non-interactive shooting. All the typical things that you used to see in Eldari. It's not as extravagant as a Fuegan Fire Brick unit or a Fire Dragon Brick unit, but it's going to be consistency over time, and you have a lot of activations to make sure things go down. And I have found that I think Drukhari, while they are still a fragile army, that if you make a couple misplays, they're going to fall apart. If you play that army and you're able to get the Hellions deep, tie up your opponent's units, start contesting their objectives, meanwhile your damage units are removing what they put on objectives, you have a lot of stuff still, and you can just play out a late game scoring points, no problem. I think Drukhari are pretty underrated, at least the non-Spectacle Spite builds, because I think Spectacle Spite is about to be reined in a bit more.
Yeah, I think Spectacle is really going to struggle with, I would guess that some of the new power armies that are out there, these are not underrated. These are the ones that we know are good. Like Scintillating Legion Demons, where it's, everything with an 18 is dead, and also 1 or 2 things past that. Yeah. It's like, I might just run out of stuff too fast. Like, every time Fate Weaver's like, stealthy, whatever. 6 damage is that Venom. It's like, okay. And then, a Screamer somehow rolled in advance and saw 1 Raider, and your opponent's like, wow, that's crazy. You're dead. It's like
easily too. It's
2 transports behind the wall, 4 things in line of sight. They're gone. Your turn. It's like,
the 6-inch disembark you were preparing for. Nope, you're not getting any of that. You lost some of the models already from the disembark.
I could see struggling with Catan as well. Just where you can contest them as long as you have models, and if the Necron player starts the game early enough, that won't be all 5 turns.
Like, Hellions have a lot of attacks, and if you get the +1 attack buff, it's great, but it's still not enough to put enough damage on them. And then usually those builds are looking at 2 Scourge units. It's very inconsistent whether you're hitting them. And if they put the Deceiver out there and it has stealth, you
can't stage the Hellions at all.
Yeah,
like
also true.
If a Hellion unit just gets shot by Fate Weaver, which means it was within 24 of Fate Weaver, or again, a Screamer found a line of sight, God help you. Because Tzeentch won't. It's
or
just
if the Necrons have Silent King, he can chip the unit down.
But like, I mean, Fate Weaver scoops 4 or 5 of them when he shoots. It's like, okay, 10 Hellion brick, bang. He probably didn't bring 30. He probably brought 10, 10, 5 or 10, 5, 5. Mm-hmm. A 5-man Hellion is not scratching the paint on this stuff.
No.
It's just not going to work. It's a little unfortunate. So I think that's very interesting that you think that some of these other builds and other play styles are going to have play. I do think Spectacle is going to start to diminish pretty soon. That's an opinion. I'm not the Drukhari player.
Their best tool is the 2 CP. I'm just going to charge you end of movement phase, and then your opponent's like, oh, you're going to charge into, what are you going to charge into? These Custodians, these Catan, like a lot of stuff that your witches are going to do basically nothing into.
Yeah, I can see that being a problem.
Yeah. All right, so those are the ones we think are underrated. Definitely let us know in the comments if you think there are other armies. Certainly there are plenty of other like builds and detachments that might be underrated across the game. We'd love to hear from you, and we're going to get into some of these super chats here. So if you do have questions for us, let us know. And if we do, come up with some other information that you want to ask us a question about, we're happy to answer it. So let me go ahead and, oh boy, I got to filter through all the messages.
Yeah. Can you sort on the iPad? Or?
I think I got it. I think Redrum here is the first one with his €2 super chat. Is this AOW 100,000 subscriber celebration stream, or am I early? We have hit 100,000. That was last week. Towards the end of the week, we were able to hit that marker. So thank you, everybody who has been a tremendous benefactor for us and allowing us to do these streams to make the competitive content for you guys. It really does. It is down to you guys making it possible.
100%. We love you. 100,000.
100,000, and we're gonna get that silver YouTube plaque. We're gonna show it off for you.
We're gonna hang that up somewhere.
Then we have to hit 1 million, so we all need your support to hit 1 million to get the gold one. So
it'll take some time, but I want it.
It's gonna take some
Gold's
time,
a good color.
but we're gonna get there for you guys. So thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it. Then we have Ham Sandwich 682. Thanks so much for your £5 super chat. Will Art of War be represented at the biggest teams event in Asia in Thailand next week? Congratulations on 100,000. Thank you so much. So some of the Art of War members, I believe specifically Nick Nanavati, Michael Mann, and Ben Jurek, I believe, are the 3 who will be there in Thailand. So it's not a full Art of War team, but it is Art of War support of that event. And if you are going to be going to that event or know people who are going to be there, definitely say hello to Nick, Michael, and Ben. Who are preparing. They're actually leaving tomorrow morning.
Yep, they're leaving tomorrow.
It's a long journey.
They're very excited for it. We're really excited to see how they do and to support them. And just to hear about their experiences, in a different part of the country, interacting with a different Warhammer community than what we normally get to see.
It's been amazing seeing the different Asian communities that have come to the World's events. I know I've signed a lot of different things or took pictures with a lot of those members, so we do appreciate
you. The WTC as well. It's very evident.
They've been sending more teams.
Absolutely, yeah.
So 100%, yeah. If you know anybody in those communities, definitely tell them about this event. Winquisitor Azel. Or Easel. Thanks so much for your $2 super chat. VahlGaunts are mandatory. What about Knight allies? I guess this is for sisters.
Yeah.
VahlGaunts, 100%.
VahlGaunts are pretty mandatory in sisters. I think that
it's like one of the most auto take units in the entire game.
Yeah, it's just one of those you just take it.
Especially in this meta.
I really can't think of. I don't even know what's more auto take than that.
It's in every single list.
Bellator?
Because it's across detachments as well. Yeah. It doesn't matter what detachment it is. It's just the best unit you can run.
Yeah. I think that for Sisters, Knight allies don't provide as much value as they do in some other armies, just because realistically what Knights bring is either autocannons or Meltas. If you're doing the Armigers, none of the big Knights I think are worth it, because a big part of the big Knights is their ability to buff people. And Canis himself is a little too expensive at the moment to just put in and not care. The really big aspect of Sisters is their Miracle Dice, and Sisters have one of those rule sets where everything in their army can benefit from the rule, so everything should. With Space Marines, it's a little different. You don't need Knights for other reasons, but Space Marines, your entire army doesn't use Oath.
Yes.
And so once you have killed the Oath target, everything past that doesn't have a rule. But in Sisters, every unit can be using Miracle Dice at the same time, and so you just want as many Sisters units as possible.
And when they die, they generate those Miracle Dice.
And they generate more, and they use the stratagems. I find for that reason, and same thing with like an army like Grey Knights. You know, like if Grey Knights like lifts 2 or 3 units a turn, you only actually need 3 units. Yeah. Although usually you want more for other reasons. You can easily put a Knight into Grey Knights and not lose any impact of your rule. Sisters, I don't think that's the case.
If you're asking because you really love Knights and you want to run them, what you could look at is a Bringers of Flame build that runs multiple Immolators, some Castigators, and then as the VahlGaunts, of course, and then adds in Armigers, the Helverin variant, because you're able to strip cover with the Immolators, and then they get significantly better with that. I remember a Bringers build like that many months ago. So if you wanted that, that would still be a competitive build.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then it's good OC as well to contest objectives. Then we have Spider335 here with a $8 Australian chat, I believe. Thank you so much. Hey guys, I'm seeing a lot of competitive Tau lists no longer use crisis suits. Are they still worth taking? What changes do they need to be meta? So great question. Tau performed really well at the Palm Spring Opens recently. Multiple different Tau builds, a Monka and Retaliation Conjure. And crisis suits as the mainstay, they're most seen in Retaliation Conjure because that is the detachment that benefits battle suits as a whole. Yeah. Typically, they are not the main unit you're relying on. Usually, that's going to be the Riptide. And that's simply because their damage output on the anti-tank version is very low. It's 6 fusion shots, and it's strength 9, although it gets a strength benefit in that detachment. And
a little close ranged.
It's close range as well. 12-inch fusion is not really where you want to be, unfortunately. And in addition to that, T5 is a profile that's very easy for every army in the game to deal with, both combat and shooting. Tau missed out on the toughness boost that a lot of the meta or a lot of the armies got in the game. And crisis suits at T5, lower than Gravis armor, it's so easy to wound with almost every weapon, unfortunately. Yeah. So that's why they're not the most competitive option. You typically see 1 or 2 units. Like you could still have a commander that drops down with a Sunforge unit, gets in melt range and blows something up. But typically what you're seeing is actually the Star Scythe version, which is the Flamers. Because it's 120 points, it's a unit that can fall back and act, and it is a very cheap 6 OC contest unit that can blow up trash very effectively. Yep. And in the Retaliation Cadre detachment, you can 6-inch deep strike it, so it can go blow up those 10 Zangors or 10 Cultists on somebody's backfield. So that's typically where you do see them. You could run Fire Knives in Monka, because there's a +1 AP strat that's very easy to access for 2 units. But we've seen Missile Sides a little more popular than them, because they're a lot more durable, and they're twin-linked.
So Link's really good.
Yeah, that's kind of your answer. Redrum with a €2 super chat. Thank you so much. The question is, will AEW make an effort to stop Liam? That's a great question. I mean, I feel like we got to respect the man. Like, I can't be going over there and stopping Liam.
I know, right?
He's got CSM. He's got this voodoo going on.
I know.
I'd respect it too much.
Might be a recipe for disaster.
Honestly, I just want to see the 4-peat at this point with vets.
Yeah,
that would be
incredible.
Downright impressive. So,
maybe I think that this year we're looking at some other tournaments in that time frame. Like we're considering some team events in October, so we might try to make our way to Europe more as a team. We're still, seeing if we can.
Yeah, but 100%.
Still to be determined if LGT is going to be on that list.
The interesting thing is, like, Games Workshop hasn't really released the slate of events outside of Palm Spring, and is Maastricht is the other one in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, yeah. I don't recall the city.
So we don't really know the full slate, and a lot of other events are kind of switching their dates or moving things around. So once we have the full kind of information, we'll plan out where Artawar is going to go, but we'll try and let people know the events if you want to come and say hello and hang out. Okay. We've got Ricky67. Thanks so much for being a member of the bronze tier for 13 months. Please give us a detailed review of Witch in the Walls book number 1. This is going to be Quentin. If you remember Quentin, the old Q Money. This is his newly published book. If you haven't seen any details of it, we had a whole bunch of posts about it. And if you want any more information, I can make a post in this in the comments here.
Go check out our social media feeds. We've already advertised it, but you should absolutely go support our good friend.
It's his first book.
His first published book. I won't put any spoilers in here because someone may hear this and want to go read the book, and I think they should go enjoy it for themselves. Maybe in a couple weeks or in a month, once everyone's had a little time, maybe we get Quentin on for live stream.
For a little review,
a little interview the author.
100%. Well, Q&A. We'll get into the real sauce. How much the Art of War team inspired this book. Then we've got Legendeer, £2 super chat. Thank you so much. No mention of Dark Angel's Librarius Conclave. Oh, winky face. He knows correct. John loves the winky face.
You're correct. Conclave. I did not mention that detachment for that army. What's the next question?
Is that the best way to run Librarius Conclave? John, you're an expert on Space Marines.
Yes. Yes. No. It's the best way to use the rules in Librarius Conclave. The best way to run Librarius Conclave, I actually have this list saved on my phone. You take Guilliman, you take Calgar, you take 6 Victor's Guard, you take 2 Repulsor Executioners, and then you take some Vindicators or Hammer Strikes, Redemptors, a mix of those, some Incursors, some Intercessors, and that's actually a pretty solid Librarius.
You get a lot of stuff in Marines.
Yeah. There's actually no Librarians, but you have Armor of Contempt and Double Oath, so that's pretty good.
You don't need anything
if
else.
You want to actually use Librarius Conclave rules, I do think that Dark Angels do it in an interesting way because they have the best Terminator data sheet, and the Terminator Librarians actually have very good data sheet. Honestly, it doesn't quite fit because you don't need leaders in these units, and the other Terminators are bad. But the Terminator Librarian is genuinely good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, then we have Mr. Matt1473. Thanks so much for your New Zealand $9 super chat. We appreciate your support. Mm-hmm. What are you most excited about in the new releases announced in the latest preview?
Okay. You go first. Mine's gonna be lengthy.
I don't. Well, the latest preview.
The latest preview was Eldar Corsairs,
Red Corsairs,
New Custodes, and Red Corsairs.
Red Corsairs,
and then they also put a preview of a preview in where they showed a couple of flashed images of an Iron Warrior's shoulder pad and a claw that everyone is suspecting is a Defiler, and a couple people are coping as Perturabo. Folks, it's probably
let them cope,
not.
John. Let them cope.
I know.
Let them cope.
Look, we haven't gotten 2 Demon Primarchs in an edition yet, and it would be really cool.
It's the first time, baby.
Those are my favorite 2. We already got Fulgrim, and Perturabo is
We
my
haven't
favorite.
gotten Khan.
Trader Primarchs.
Traders.
Khan is my favorite Primarch, but manifesting. So of those, as well as some pretty cool models for some alternative games.
Out of those specifically, it would be Custodes because I really don't care about Red Corsairs or Corsairs. I'm gonna be honest with you, but the Custodes models look awesome. I do have the older Custodes. I had a Custodes army, and I'm definitely gonna be trading those into Warpfire so I can get the new models.
Absolutely. I will say, as a former Custodes player myself,
long time
Custodes player who gave
what's 2-time WTC
two-time
Custodes
WTC Custodes player. I am really excited about the new models. I think Custodes is an elite enough army that I'm going to try to pick up 2 of those boxes just to get them, and because I really like the new sculpts and models, and I want to support that. But I also have to say I'm really excited for this new Red Corsairs release. What's that, John? Another Chaos Army? No, I'm not going to be playing with Red Corsairs. If you haven't seen my army, all of my Space Marines that have casualties on the bases, and I actually like to add a lot, all of the base casualties are painted as Red Corsairs. I got beef with Red Corsairs.
Big beef.
And every time I go to the local game store and someone's like, I just picked up a Red Corsair army, I think they're neat, and I get to purge them, that's going to be fun. Michael is picking up. He's thinking about playing Red Corsairs.
He's thinking about it.
He's going to paint this whole army red and black.
He's your new arch nemesis.
Absolutely. We got beef now. Michael, never met him. Time to kill him.
All right, next up we have Mr. Redrum with a €10 super chat. Thank you so much, Redrum. Every time I think about consistency in 40k, I think about John. 3 times in the row, top 4 at WCW, plus a bunch of other events. Would love a video about consistency.
Top 3.
Top 3. Put some respect on this man's name.
The 4th place here. I get 2nd or I get 3rd. That's all I do.
Easy.
No 4th place.
Is it experience or is there more to it? I mean, there's a lot of experienced players who haven't done that.
Look, it's one of a kind. I have more podiums than the rest of the house together. They just all have 1 first place. I don't know. It would be an interesting thing to make a video about, though. Is consistency in 40k.
I would say John is the most practiced person in the meta. Like in terms of if my life was on the line, John, my life on the line.
Yeah. The
And
aliens have come to Earth.
It's not trial by combat, but it's 40k by combat.
Okay, yeah.
I would pick you because of your knowledge of the game and your reps, and I think that's one of the reasons why it stands out. So that would be my answer to this question. But John could do a video on it.
I could do a video about that.
All right. Ben J 40k. Thanks so much for being a member at the Warhammer Bronze for 33 months.
Ooh, thank you.
Thoughts on a 5-man teams event with a comp of 15 Land Raiders?
I hear you. What I believe would be better is an 8-player comp with 24 Land Raiders.
24.
I think it would be cool. Honestly, you could even do more if you wanted your Grey Knight and Space Marine players to have more than 3 Land Raiders. I mean, all 4 Trader Legions and Chaos Space Marines.
Yep.
They all have the Las Cannon Land Raider. That's 5. Custodes is 6. Grey Knights is 7. Space Marines is 8.
Solid.
If I were doing a local 5-person team event, I would be and I had 15 Land Raiders. That's crucial to this equation. I would be willing to do it. As a matter of fact, I want to see the first team to do it because
there's a Tampa Teams event coming up. There's a Tampa Teams, John.
I'll see how many Land Raiders we can find.
We could probably muster some Land Raiders. If you have any spare Land Raiders out there, let us know in the
comments.
Our way. That is very funny.
It would be.
That's the type of I imagine Games Workshop has a stock of Land Raiders they're looking to sell. So this
not
could
for
be
long.
Not for long. Out after this video. We've got Best Blueberry. Thanks so much for being a member at 11 months at the gold tier. I appreciate your support. Any rants either one of you wanted to go on, but nobody asked the right question to prompt it.
Ooh.
Well, John just went on his Red Corsairs rant about how they're the worst faction and he hates them.
I actually quite like them.
He likes them, but he despises them.
I like killing them.
He likes killing them. They're the favorite, the favorite casualties of 40k.
It's one of those things where when you show up to a table and you have like an army that is based casualties on your army, and you show up and your opponent just happens to have those models, you get to be like, oh! And then you get to go on your speech about how like, I'm actually a lore player and I'm here to kill you specifically. Some people take that well, some people don't. I had a game once where I was showing up with like broken 9th edition guard, and like Yarrick is trotting over Resin Gazpool.
I remember that.
And like every dead orcs on all the sentinels. And my opponent had orcs. And I was like, oh, this is so cool because my army's the orc killers and you're the orcs. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then I tabled him turn 2. I was like, wow, okay, I'm sorry.
That's when factions used to get buffs against other factions. Disgusting.
Dude, Yarrick, give me the reroll hits against orcs, Aura. Kill him.
Just disgusting. So you love killing Red Corsairs.
I do, yes.
Who do you think my favorite faction killing is?
I mean, obviously it's Fate Weaver.
Fate Weaver in combat with a Riptide, John. I punched Fate Weaver out a couple games ago in combat, style points.
Old Fate Weaver. Can't get
I told Nick, so I have a Riptide that's punching a Hive Tyrant in the face, but I told Nick I now need to get Fate Weaver so that I can recreate that diorama, but with Fate Weaver's face being punched out. Because it literally happened in a game.
Since we built a few of the Lord of Change, every Lord of Change comes with Fate Weaver's heads.
Oh, if we have extras.
Of course I have extra Fate Weaver.
I need that, John.
Sprues. Like, I could give you
if you can
Fate
give
Weaver's
me that
heads, and you could just have a Riptide that's just like...
It's happening.
It's gotta happen.
If you give me those sprues, it's happening.
All right, we'll get it to you.
Perfect. Fate Weaver is a great choice. But in terms of normal models, it's Eldari models. I love killing Eldari models. Those Eldari players show up, they're like, I'm a high skill player. I play this army. Like, here's your broken rules. You're dead. Get out of here. Tucker.
Indirect makes the world
I'm
go round.
staring directly at Tucker right now.
Good.
All right. I think that is all of the super chats that we have. Oh, no, we got another one here from Redrum. Thanks so much for your €5 super chat. Would love to have you guys at the Alpine Team Cup end of April. There is also a singles event attached to it to the days before the team event. Worth it. That happens. That happens in April.
There's a couple of Alpine Cups.
It's a series of events, right?
It's a series, yeah. April is going to be a tough sell for me personally because I'm going to be in Europe for a different event in April. Because I'm going to be at Home Nations in April.
Okay. Yeah. See, John's going to be busy.
I have 4 trips to Europe planned this year, and I'm like, wow.
Just a casual
How is this happening? I have, like, for the next 11 months, I have 1 event in the United States that I, like, know that I'm going to, and 4 in Europe. I'm like,
You just like to travel.
How did this happen?
You got the travel bug, John.
I guess, but we're going to make it work. And then next year, I'm going to stay home for 12 months and just try to save money.
Based on that, I think we can get John to LGT. John versus Liam. Rematch.
That would be 5 trips
Rematch.
to Europe. That's a lot of Europe.
Everybody wants
Set
the
up an office
rematch.
there.
Chat, let us know how much you want that rematch.
God, I want that rematch.
Yeah, he does.
Unless I get swept, then it's bad.
All right, I think that is it. Tucker, does it look good to you? Did I not miss anybody? All right, cool. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate your support. Thank you for all of those super chats, and thank you for the support getting to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. This is only the beginning. We got plenty more coming, and if you checked out the battle reports this week, we have a new updated overlay. There are even more upgrades that are becoming. We're putting a lot of work into some of the production and behind the stream stuff. So if you have any suggestions or things that you like, let us know, and I'd be happy to kind of further incorporate those. But otherwise, if you enjoy this type of content, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. Leave a comment below letting us know whether you think we're correct on the underrated armies, if we're wrong, if you think there are ones that we didn't talk about here. We'd love to hear from you. In addition, if you want content for every faction in the game, including these underrated armies that we mentioned, check out the Worm at theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you get access to our awesome international Discord community that does have faction channels for all the armies in the game with experts from around the world where you can make a lot of new friends. And if you want to sign up instead on YouTube, you can sign up to the Gold tier, which has all of the videos as well.
Mm-hmm. I think Ultramarines are underrated. If you agree, leave a comment.
Oh, don't leave a comment for that. Oh, not the Ultramarines. They only had, 5 of the best named epic heroes?
They had 2.
They had 2. All right. They could have had more. They could have had
3.
They could have had 3.
They had 2, but they could have had 3.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you all next time. So long for now.
Bye-bye. Ta-da! Thanks, Tucker. Does anyone need to record this room?